So this is a story, something that happened to me. My air conditioning broke. It cost me over £1,000 to get my air conditioning fixed. So I'll just take you through the journey. You may think that me being an experienced car guy, we don't have these surprises, but we do. Cars are just like that, and there's some inherent things that just happen when you take a car apart. So let's look at the process I went through of getting my air conditioning fixed in my Audi A3, but it applies to so many different cars, particularly within the Volkswagen Audi group. But most cars operate in very, very similar ways when it comes to air conditioning. So I pressed the air conditioning button and nothing happened. The light wouldn't stay on. So it's handy to just have some sort of diagnostic tool. If you plug a diagnostic tool in, the computer will generally give you error codes and reports as to what's going on in the engine. So we plugged this OBD11. I've not been sponsored to say that. That's just what we had on hand. It's a very good little ECU tool. It enables you to look at the various different error codes that you get within the engine, and really is a good aid to diagnosing problems, and it saves an awful lot of guesswork. So the error code that was reported was low gas pressure within the air conditioning system. So without the gas in the air conditioning system being at the correct pressure, it was just unable to work, and that's why it didn't come on. So I took it to my local garage. They've got all the equipment that they need to regas the air conditioning. It's not something I have kicking around, unfortunately. So the first thing they did for me was a vacuum test. So they put the entire system under a vacuum just to assess its ability to hold a vacuum, and if it can hold a vacuum, then chances are it just needs topping up. Now, when they put my car on, they realized there was no gas at all, so it had all leaked out, and that is a big red flag. If you've lost all the gas rather than just a substantial amount of it, there is probably a leak somewhere in the system. But it did survive the vacuum test for about 40 minutes. So the vacuum test indicated that I would probably be okay with the regas. They put some new gas in. Hey presto, push the button, it worked fine for a little bit. The following morning, the problem was back. I pressed the button, the light went out again straight away, so it had lost the gas. But the garage, they knew what they were doing. They put a dye in with the gas. So if that gas was leaking out, that dye would show up. So they look at the dye under an ultraviolet light, which allows it to be seen, and that will indicate where the leaks are. So unfortunately for me, it looked like the condenser was at fault. So that's basically a radiator that the gas goes into, and that's one of the main components within your air conditioning system that keeps the air charge cool. It looked like I would have to get a new condenser for the car. It's quite a big job on the Audi A3 and a lot of cars. The easiest way of doing it is to basically take the entire front of the car off. The radiator needs to come off as well to allow full access to it. Now here's the thing, when you take a car apart, any old pipes, any rusty pipes, any bad joins will generally fail. They were just held together, and with the extra flexing of just undoing stuff and moving stuff around, it often causes other failures. And that's really what happened to me. The additional pipes within the air conditioning that take the gas into the condenser and back again were leaking. They were so thin, they were porous. This is a little clip just to show how much air was rushing through these pipes. And looking at the surface of the pipes, it's not surprising. There was a lot of corrosion. So if you look in your engine and you see a lot of corrosion on these air conditioning pipes, and you've got a problem with your air conditioning, chances are you need to replace those pipes. Please boot that like button. It really helps us to get out there. And if you've had problems with your air conditioning, please drop us in the comments. Let us know your stories, your experiences, because it just adds to the pool of knowledge and we can all draw on that. And I really appreciate all of the feedback from all of my viewers. So my friendly local garage, Southcourt Garage, I love them. They're great. They do a good job, and they're really the only place I would trust with my car. They know what they're doing. They're honest. They actually fixed the labour cost. Although a lot more work was involved than they had originally anticipated, they kept the labour cost low for me. So I was really just looking at the cost of parts. It actually turned out that the condenser was okay, but it looks pretty bad. It looked quite shot, and it was unlikely to last many more years. And as I'm planning to keep the car, it just seemed sensible to replace that part as well as the pipe that was causing the problem. Most of the cost that I actually had to pay out was for the parts that were used to replace this. Now, I'm one of those people that always insist on genuine parts. In a lot of circumstances on cars, a lot of aftermarket parts can be better and more efficient, but air conditioning isn't really one of those areas where people go out and buy performance alternatives, because there just is no point. There's no performance alternative to air conditioning bits and pieces. So I went with the original equipment manufacturer parts because I knew they were tested, I knew they were quite solid. As a precaution, the garage actually dismantled the air conditioning system and replaced all of the seals for me so I wouldn't have any problems with other seals, and then they regassed it and it's worked fine. So £1,000 later, my air conditioning was fixed. So if I'd known at the beginning that it would cost me over £1,000 to fix my air conditioning, would I have done it? No way. But what happens is you get onto the conveyor belt, don't you? You've paid out to have the car regassed. Then it looks like it's just a subtle extra part that's needed. And then when everything is dismantled, often other problems manifest themselves, and we discovered other issues and problems with the car that really needed to be addressed. So at that point, I could have said no and just get them to put the car back together. But most of the labour was actually involved in dismantling everything and getting to that point. There wasn't a lot of extra work involved in just doing the work and fixing it. So it certainly made sense to me to get everything replaced and put back into tip-top condition so I could rely on it. And here we are, a month later, the air conditioning is still working perfectly, blowing out lovely cold air. So it's just my experience with air conditioning. If your air conditioning light goes off and you're having problems with it, check the pipes, get a diagnostic code check, and just see what the car is reporting. Chances are, if you're fortunate, it just needs a gas top-up, and most places can offer a fairly cost-effective top-up of gas, although the prices have spiked up quite a lot in recent times. So I hope this has been useful to you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so, because we'd love you to stay tuned. We've got lots of other articles and videos coming up helping you to save on your motoring costs and get the most from your car.